The Himalayas are not just a collection of rocks, they are a colossal natural barrier that defines the shape of our world. They stretch across 5 different nations, including Nepal, India, China, Bhutan, and Pakistan. This is a massive wall, separating the humid Indian subcontinent from the high, dry Tibetan plateau. At the center of this empire stands Mount Everest, a peak that reaches 8,848.86 meters into the sky. Surrounding it are more than 100 peaks that exceed 7,200 meters in height. Nowhere else on Earth will you find such a concentrated display of extreme elevation. This range is a landscape of extremes, where the air is thin and the terrain is unforgiving. It shapes everything it touches, from the local climate to the civilizations that have dared to live in its valleys. In the eyes of those who live here, these mountains are far more than geological formations. They are sacred giants, deeply intertwined with the human spirit and ancient traditions. Peaks like Kanchenjunga and Mount Kailash are revered as living deities, holding a power that transcends the physical world. For many, climbing these peaks is not an achievement, it is a sacrilege. Mount Kailash, in particular, remains unclimbed to this day, protected by the devotion of millions. Across the traditions of Hinduism and Buddhism, these mountains are seen as sacred realms and the homes of gods. They influence every ritual, every pilgrimage route, and the very belief systems of the people. This spiritual connection creates a boundary that is far more powerful than any physical wall. To understand the Himalayas, we must look at them as a layered, complex empire of stone. They are not a single ridge, but a system of 4 distinct regions. First, there are the southern foothills, known as the Sivalik Hills, which rise gently from the plains. Above them lies the mid-range, often called the Lesser Himalayas, where many of the region's hill stations are found. Then we reach the core, the Great Himalayas, which host the highest and most iconic peaks on the planet. Finally, on the northern edge, we find the Tibetan Himalayas, where the range blends into the high plateau. From the terrifying Nanga Parbat in the west to the remote Namcha Bawa in the east, the range forms a dramatic arc. This 2,400-kilometer curve is one of the most incredible geological features on our planet. The story of the Himalayas is a story of a violent, ongoing geological collision. Millions of years ago, the Indian tectonic plate began a long journey northward toward the Eurasian plate. When they finally met, the impact was so powerful that it folded the Earth's crust upward. This was not a quick event, but a process that has been happening for over 50 million years. The immense pressure not only created the mountains, but also lifted the entire Tibetan plateau. Even today, the 2 plates continue to push against each other with relentless force. Because of this, the Himalayas are still growing by several millimeters every single year. It is a living, breathing system, but this growth comes with a heavy price. The region is prone to massive earthquakes and constant geological instability. From the frozen hearts of these mountains flow some of the most vital rivers on Earth. The Indus, the Ganges, and the Brahmaputra all find their beginnings in the high Himalayan glaciers. These rivers are the lifeblood of South Asia, sustaining hundreds of millions of people. They carve through deep valleys and provide the water necessary for agriculture and industry. Without the Himalayas, the civilizations of India, Pakistan, and Bangladesh would look very different. The range acts as a massive water tower, storing life in the form of ice and snow. This water is then released slowly, feeding the ecosystems and the thirsty plains downstream. It is a delicate balance between the frozen heights and the fertile lands below. The Himalayas hold the largest reserves of ice outside of the North and South Poles. Because of this, scientists often refer to the region as the Third Pole. It is home to approximately 15,000 glaciers, including the famous Khumbu Glacier on the route to Everest. These glaciers act as a massive freshwater reservoir for the entire continent. However, this frozen treasure is currently under a grave threat from climate change. The glaciers are retreating at an alarming rate, faster than almost anywhere else on Earth. This poses a long-term risk to the water security of over 2 billion people. If the ice disappears, the rivers will eventually run dry, leading to a catastrophe of global proportions. The Himalayas are also a powerful engine that drives the regional weather systems. They act as a physical wall that blocks the cold, dry winds from Central Asia from reaching the south. At the same time, they trap the moisture-heavy monsoon systems coming from the Indian Ocean. This creates intense rainfall on the southern slopes, fueling lush forests and fertile farmlands. On the other side of the range, to the north, the mountains create a dry rain shadow. This is why the Tibetan Plateau is a high-altitude desert, while the foothills are teeming with life. The range is a master climate regulator, controlling temperatures and seasonal cycles for the entire region. Without this barrier, the heart of Asia would be a vastly different and harsher place. Despite the extreme cold and thin air, the Himalayas are a vertical world of diverse life. As you move from the tropical forests at the base to the frozen peaks, the life forms change dramatically. This region is home to some of the rarest and most elusive species on the planet. The snow leopard, known as the ghost of the mountains, thrives in the high-altitude rocky terrain. The red panda hides in the bamboo forests of the middle elevations, while the Himalayan tahr scales vertical cliffs. Each level of altitude creates a distinct ecosystem with its own unique challenges and inhabitants. This makes the Himalayas one of the most biologically diverse mountain systems in the world. It is a sanctuary for life that has adapted to the most brutal conditions imaginable. Human culture in the Himalayas is just as diverse and resilient as the wildlife. People here have carved out a life in a vertical world, adapting to the thin air and freezing temperatures. You can see this in the monasteries perched precariously on the edges of cliffs, like Paro Taksang in Bhutan. Ancient pilgrimage routes crisscross the terrain, connecting remote villages with sacred sites. The languages, architecture, and clothing vary from one valley to the next, yet all are shaped by the mountains. Life is slow, measured by the seasons and the movement of the sun across the peaks. There is a profound sense of endurance and spirituality that permeates every aspect of daily life. The mountains are not just a place where these people live, they are the very soul of their identity. The future of the Himalayas is fragile as the region faces growing pressure from the modern world. Beyond the melting glaciers, deforestation and rapid development are threatening the stability of the slopes. Landslides and natural disasters are becoming more frequent, as the environment is pushed to its limit. Political tensions between the nations that share the range also complicate the efforts to protect it. The resources of the Himalayas are finite, but the demand for them is growing every single day. The challenges facing this region are not just local issues, they are global problems that require our attention. If we lose the balance of the Himalayas, the consequences will be felt across the entire planet. We are witnessing the struggle of a giant, and its survival depends on our choices. When we look at the Himalayas, we see the power of time and the strength of nature. They remind us that the Earth is a dynamic, changing place, governed by forces far beyond our control. The collision of continents created this masterpiece, and the slow movement of ice continues to shape it. There is a deep lesson in the permanence of the peaks and the transience of human ambition. Many have tried to conquer these mountains, but the mountains remain indifferent to our struggles. They teach us about humility, patience, and the importance of respecting the natural world. The Himalayas are a testament to the beauty that comes from struggle and the life that can thrive in the most unlikely places. Consider the life of a single drop of water, starting as a snowflake on the summit of Everest. It might spend 1,000 years frozen in a glacier before finally melting and joining a river. That drop of water will travel through the mountains, through the plains, and eventually reach the sea. It will sustain a farmer's crop, provide a drink for a thirsty child, and give life to a forest. This is the cycle that the Himalayas manage every single day without fail. It is a silent service that the mountains provide to the world, often without us even realizing it. We are all connected to these peaks, whether we live in their shadow or across the ocean. The health of the Himalayas is the health of our global water cycle. In the face of such grandeur, it is easy to feel small and insignificant, but we must remember that our actions have an impact, even on the highest peaks on Earth. Our carbon footprint affects the temperature of the air that melts the Himalayan ice. Our choices regarding conservation determine the fate of the snow leopard and the red panda. We are not just observers of this mountain empire, we are its guardians. The Himalayas are a mirror, reflecting the current state of our relationship with the planet. If they are suffering, it is a sign that we must change our path. We have the power to protect this frozen legacy, but we must act with urgency. The history of the Himalayas is also a history of human exploration and the desire to reach the unknown. For centuries, these mountains were a mystery, a blank space on the map for much of the world. It wasn't until the 19th and 20th centuries that explorers began to map the range in detail. The quest to stand on the highest point on Earth became a symbol of human endurance and spirit. In 1953, Tenzing Norgay and Edmund Hillary became the first to stand on the summit of Everest. Their achievement changed our perception of what was possible, but it also opened the door to mass tourism. Today, the challenge is no longer just reaching the top, but managing the impact of those who follow. The economy of the Himalayan region is heavily dependent on the natural beauty and the challenges of the terrain. Tourism provides a vital source of income for thousands of families in Nepal, India, and Bhutan. Sherpas and local guides risk their lives to help climbers fulfill their dreams of reaching the summits. However, this economy is volatile and highly sensitive to environmental and political changes. When an earthquake strikes or a pandemic closes the borders, the local communities suffer the most. There is a constant struggle to balance economic growth with environmental preservation. Finding a sustainable path forward is the great challenge for the nations of the Himalayas. We must support models that benefit the local people while protecting the mountains they call home. There is a Machiavellian coldness to the way the mountains operate, showing no mercy to those who are unprepared. In the death zone, above 8,000 meters, the human body literally begins to die. The air is so thin that the brain and lungs struggle to function, and every step is a battle against gravity. The mountains do not care about your dreams, your money, or your reputation. They simply exist, and they demand total respect from anyone who enters their realm. This harsh reality creates a stark contrast with the beauty of the views from the summit. It is a place of ultimate reward, but also of ultimate risk, where one mistake can be fatal. This duality is what draws people to the Himalayas year after year. If you were to stand on a peak in the Great Himalayas, you would see a world of white and blue. Below you, the clouds would look like an ocean, hiding the green valleys and the bustling cities. Up here, time seems to stand still, and the problems of the world feel very far away. But even in this silence, the mountains are busy, grinding down rocks and moving glaciers. It is a landscape of constant motion, hidden under a mask of stillness. This is the true nature of the Himalayas, a place of hidden power and quiet transformation. They are the silent rulers of the continent, dictating the flow of life and the movement of the air. To understand them is to understand the heart of the earth itself. The tragedy of the Himalayas is that their very beauty makes them vulnerable to destruction. The more people come to see the peaks, the more trash is left behind and the more the trails are eroded. We see this most clearly on Everest, where the highest junkyard in the world has become a sad reality. There are efforts to clean up the mountains, but it is a monumental task in such extreme conditions. We must ask ourselves if our desire to see these places is worth the damage we cause. It is a question of balance, of finding a way to appreciate nature without destroying it. The future of mountain tourism must be one of responsibility and deep respect for the environment. The story of the Himalayas is also a story of turning points in human history. They served as a barrier that protected ancient India from invasions from the north for centuries. They were the backdrop for the Great Game between the British and Russian empires in the 19th century. More recently, they have been a site of border disputes and geopolitical posturing between modern superpowers. The mountains have seen empires rise and fall, yet they remain unchanged by the shifting borders. They are a reminder that nature is the ultimate authority, and human conflicts are but a brief moment in geological time. The mountains will outlast our nations, our politics, and our names. We must learn to listen to what the mountains are telling us through their changing cycles. When the springs in the foothills dry up, it is a message about the health of the underground aquifers. When the snow leopard descends lower than usual, it is a sign of shifting prey and changing climates. The people who live in the Himalayas have long known how to read these signs, but the world is moving faster than they can adapt. We need to integrate this traditional knowledge with modern science to find solutions. The Himalayas are a laboratory for climate change, showing us the future of the planet in real time. We cannot afford to ignore the warnings coming from the roof of the world. The biodiversity of the Himalayas is not just a matter of beauty, it is essential for the stability of the ecosystem. Every plant and animal plays a role in maintaining the balance of the mountain environment. When a species like the musk deer is overhunted for its scent glands, it ripples through the entire food chain. Conservation efforts in the Himalayas are difficult because of the rugged terrain and the lack of resources. However, there are success stories, like the recovery of the tiger populations in the foothills and the protection of forest corridors. These victories show that it is possible to coexist with the wild, even in the most challenging environments. It requires a commitment from both local governments and the international community to succeed. The architectural heritage of the Himalayas is a reflection of the deep spiritual connection the people have with the land. The Dzongs of Bhutan, which are part fortress and part monastery, are masterpieces of design and engineering. They are built without nails or formal plans, using techniques passed down through generations. These structures are designed to withstand earthquakes and the harsh mountain weather, standing as symbols of resilience. In the Mustang region of Nepal, ancient cave dwellings tell the story of a people who lived in the cliffs for protection. Every stone and timber in these buildings has a purpose and a story to tell. They are a part of the landscape, blending seamlessly with the surrounding mountains. We hope this journey to the roof of the world has given you a new perspective on our incredible planet. The Himalayas are a reminder of the fragility and the grandeur of nature, and the responsibility we all share. If you enjoyed this exploration of the world's greatest mountain range, please give this video a like. Share your thoughts in the comments below about which Himalayan peak fascinates you the most. Have you ever dreamed of visiting the Himalayas, or perhaps you have already stood in their shadow? Your engagement helps us continue to tell these epic stories of our world. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more deep dives into the wonders of the earth. Thank you for watching.